It always happens the same way. You hold it in, you stay calm, and then, boom, you explode right when people are watching. But what if that's not a coincidence, but a trap? You know that moment after you explode, when everything goes quiet, and you suddenly feel small. That moment when you think, why did I react like that? Am I the problem? If you've ever felt that way, stay with me, because this video is going to change how you see yourself. Reactive abuse is one of the most misunderstood psychological traps, and it makes good people question their own character. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down why you snapped, why it always happens in the same confusing pattern, and why it says more about the person pushing you than it says about you. And most importantly, you'll finally understand that the explosion wasn't the beginning of the story. It was the ending of a very long one. Reactive abuse sounds like a scary term, but the truth is simple. It's what happens when a good person is pushed past their limit. Imagine this. You're in the kitchen, trying to stay calm while someone keeps poking at you. Not physically, emotionally. Little comments, little digs, the kind that don't look like anything to outsiders, but hit the softest spots inside you. You try to breathe. You try to walk away. You try to stay the bigger person. And then suddenly, you snap. But here's the part nobody talks about. Your snap wasn't the beginning of the conflict. It was the aftershock. Reactive abuse is not you becoming the toxic one. It's your nervous system saying, enough, I can't absorb any more of this. It's the body defending itself in the only way it knows when calm no longer works. Sometimes the outburst isn't even anger. It's a survival response. The same instinct the brain uses when it feels trapped. And once you understand that, everything else in this story starts to make sense. Here's something most people miss. The explosion almost never happens in private. Somehow, it always happens in front of other people. At the dinner table, in the car with friends, right after family arrives, or at work, when your coworkers suddenly look up and see you raising your voice, and you wonder, why now? Why here? Why in front of everyone? Because the person provoking you knows exactly when you're most vulnerable and when they're most protected. They test your limits in private. They poke, they guilt trip, they twist your words, quietly. Then, when they've pushed you right to the edge, they step back and wait. And here's the shocking part. The moment you break is the moment they finally look innocent. To the audience, you look like the aggressive one. To the manipulator, it's the perfect moment. Psychologists call this image management. It's not just manipulation, it's a strategy. Protect their reputation by sacrificing yours. And once you see this pattern, you can never unsee it. Right after the explosion comes the silence. Not outside, inside you. Your chest feels tight, your hands shake. You replay every word you said, every tone, every movement, like a crime scene in your mind. And then it hits you. Shame. Not because you're a bad person, but because the outburst felt so far from who you are on a normal day. Maybe you apologize too quickly. Maybe you go quiet and shut down. Maybe you over-explain, trying to clean up the mess that wasn't even yours. But here's the part nobody warns you about. The confusion you feel is part of the trap. While you're busy blaming yourself, the person who pushed you there suddenly becomes calm, almost peaceful. They may even act like you hurt them. This emotional crash isn't you being dramatic. It's your nervous system dropping from fight mode into collapse mode. A biological response called the shame freeze, common in people who've endured long-term emotional stress. And the more this cycle repeats, the easier it becomes to trigger. After a blow-up, many people start doubting themselves. Does this mean I'm the toxic one? But here's the truth. Real narcissists don't ask that question. So let's break down the 3 signs that what you experienced was reactive abuse, not narcissism. 1. You feel guilty afterward. A narcissist feels justified, always. If your first instinct was shame, regret, or self-reflection, that already tells us something important. 2. You didn't start it. You weren't the one poking, provoking, or escalating. You reacted, after being pushed. 3. You don't treat other people this way. Your explosion only happens with one person, not with friends, coworkers, or strangers. So ask yourself, do you lose control everywhere, or only with the person who drains you? Patterns tell the truth. A single reaction doesn't define you. The context does. And if the same pattern keeps repeating only around one specific person, the issue isn't your personality. It's the environment they create. Breaking this cycle isn't about being stronger or quieter. It's about changing the moment before the explosion. The moment your body first says, something feels wrong. Start by noticing your early signals. The tight jaw, the shallow breathing, the feeling of walking on eggshells. Those aren't minor annoyances. They're alarms. Step back, physically if you can. Say something simple like, I need a moment, or we'll talk later. You don't need a speech. You just need distance. Because here's the truth. You can't win a game someone else controls, but you can stop playing. One of the most powerful tools psychologists teach is somatic awareness, training your body to recognize triggers before they spike. When you catch the tension early, your nervous system doesn't get dragged into fight or collapse mode. Over time, these tiny boundaries reshape the entire pattern, and the explosion that once felt inevitable no longer has to happen. Reactive abuse doesn't make you the villain of your story. It makes you human, a human who has been pushed, cornered, and misunderstood for far too long. And now that you can see the pattern clearly, the shame starts to loosen its grip. The confusion begins to fade. You finally understand that your breaking point wasn't a moral failure. It was a survival response. What happened wasn't about you being too emotional or too sensitive. It was about someone learning how to press the exact buttons that hurt the most. And once you see that truth, you're no longer trapped inside their version of the story. You're stepping into your own. A story where you understand yourself better. A story where your reactions make sense. A story where healing can finally begin. If this video made something click for you, you're not alone. Thousands of people feel the same confusion, the same guilt, the same, what's wrong with me? So if any part of this hit your heart, let me know in the comments. Which moment felt the most true for you? And if you want to understand these patterns even deeper, stay with the channel. The next video in this series will show you why narcissists fear your silence more than your anger. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. And you deserve to understand your own story.